Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die Podcast. I am your host of the Trap or Die Podcast, Mual. Dre is on the way. AJ's in here. Monty, I see you. What's up? Appreciate everybody who's tapping in live on the YouTube side. Audio, we appreciate you checking in as well whenever you are listening. If you're on the YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We definitely always appreciate that if you are brand new and you like the channel. I always appreciate the live supporters and new supporters, things of that nature, and the returning, the trappers. Appreciate y'all. On the audio side, hit that follow button if you are brand new. Hit us with a rate and review if you can. If you haven't done so already, it takes 10 seconds to do so. And it's free to show you support that way. On the show today, Todd McShay, NFL Draft Analyst, scheduled to join us in about 20-ish minutes. Obviously, you know what time it is, man. It's draft season. We are a week away officially. So we're going to get a chance to chop it up with Todd and talk some prospects, man. So that's going to be a good time. AJ, what's going on with you, player? How you feeling?
Cooling, man. Just looking at myself in the in the camera, looking like my eyes super brown today. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, glad to be here with y'all. No, Dre's gonna be joining us later, and yeah, man, special guest and Todd McShay. Doesn't do too many other people's shows, but you know, it only makes sense for him to come and join the Trap or Dive team to chop it up a week before the draft and let us know, you know, how he envisions Washington and their plans in regards of handling this first round of the draft and the rest of the prospects that are available the other rounds.
Yeah. What's throwing me off, bruh, is like when I look at you said it right, like how Washington should handle the first round of the draft. Because like when I look at pick 29, I continuously get like confused, or not even confused, more so I get swayed in different directions, right? Like I look at the offense and I say this makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I look at the defense and I'm like, I could live with this too. Now, this may be a product of how Washington handled free agency. And we talked about this several thousand times throughout the Commanders space. But like, it may be a product of how they handled the free agency, where like they've done a good job of replenishing at certain positions. So it's like you can envision them going in different directions and you can be fine with it. But I don't know, man. I think Todd, I looked at a couple of his articles, and we had a lengthy conversation last week, Dre and I, about one of his prospects that he feel like is underrated on a national level. And I want to get to, if y'all was on the show last week, y'all know who I'm talking about. But like, I think that there's so many different directions that they can go. And I think plenty of people, it's going to be hard for the majority to have a problem with the route that they take.
Yeah, I mean, I think Washington's in a perfect position to go BPA. And that's typically what teams later on in the first round of the process get to do. Those teams typically have a good process. They've been able to be successful. That's why you're picking in that slot. Whether you almost made it to the Super Bowl or you made it to the Super Bowl and you lost or you won. I just think that Washington is a peculiar situation where they can kind of just let the board fall to them. And depending on how they view these certain prospects, they could be in perfect position to get exactly who they wanted from the jump. It's just like you said, Maul, do you go on the offensive side of the ball or do you go on the defensive side of the ball? It's just like, I don't want to say it's a land of riches, but, we have Todd coming on. He believes that this is a very deep defensive line draft. But at the same token, a lot of those players provide different things that Washington may not need or they may need. There's a lot of prospects that are amazing against the run game, but can't pass rush. Some that are amazing in the pass rush game, but can't stop the run. So, it's like there's no complete player necessarily in this draft. And I think that's what makes it so intriguing. Maybe not as much as last year. We're going through the whole like quarterback debacle and Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, or so on, or draft alignment talk. But, I think that there's
that was ugly.
Yeah, but I think
running back with Sam Howell.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to add a contributor to this team, whether that be offensively or defensively, and we'll get to pick on Todd McShay's brain to see what he thinks. I mean, his latest mock, he projects Malachi Starks out of Georgia, the safety that can also play some nickel and drop down in the box. So, hey, we'll see where his mind is with the conversation that we have.
Well, where are you at? And everybody that's in the chat or that's listening, like, where are y'all at a week away from the draft? And what I mean by that, like, are you leaning towards the defensive side? Like your gut instinct, what is it telling you that Washington is probably taking? Where are you at right now?
For me, I just want them to get a contributor, like someone that's going to come in immediately and be able to actually show some productivity. I mean, when you reference last year's draft class, you got a second round pick in a tight end of Ben Sinnott and also a third round pick in a Luke McCaffrey that didn't contribute anything. So it's like, for me, what's key is getting a contributor, whether that be a Travion Henderson at running back, whether that be a wide receiver, maybe a Matthew Golden, I don't know how to say Buddy's first name from Arizona, McMillan, the wide receiver. Is that a Donovan Ezeraku? Is that a James Pierce? Is that a Malachi Starks? I just need a bona fide contributor and starter with this 29th overall pick, because obviously this organization feels like they're in an opportunity to win, and you don't have the opportunity to get a guy and whiff. And I feel like Ben Sinnott and Luke McCaffrey so far are whiffs. No one's going to change my mind on that until they end up changing my mind on that, which I don't believe to happen. But, you know, that's my main thing going into this draft as far as round 1 pick and even round 2.
Well, they hit on the first rounder, but I think I didn't mean to cut you off, but I meant to say, like, that's kind of where the difficult thing is. Like, honestly, to be honest with you, I think the mid-round picks is where GMs make their money, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, people can have different opinions. I think that's where they make their money. But I also think, like, it's not that easy to get the first rounders right too. Like, that percentage drops too. So, like, I get it from, like, a whiff standpoint, and I also, like, get the overall point. But I wonder, just like when you have like a fourth rounder, you only have a fourth round. That's your only mid. Your lates are 6 is a 6 and a 7, 1 6, 1 7. But, like, I wonder just how they use that second rounder to maybe even capitalize and come up on maybe a third or extra fourth or something like that. But to your point, like that mid round, like, I think that's kind of the whole, on a high level scale. Like, you can't mess those up. And I don't know which one is. I mean, the first rounder is always more important, but it's like those mid rounders where you make your money. Like, if you can find those diamonds in the roughs, I think you're in good shape. Like, one of the people that we're going to be talking about today, I guess in relation to the guy that I wanted to bring up to him, Shamar Stewart, Danielle Hunter. He was a 3rd or 4th round pick. I didn't even know his stat line coming out of LSU, bro. But the dude
had 1 sack.
Yeah, he had 1.5 sacks. His coming out, he had 4.5 total in 3 seasons, and the dude played 38 games, and he had 4.5 career sacks at LSU. And the dude he's a sack master, bro. Like, the dude has pass rush moves, he has speed, he has power, he knows how to get to the quarterback. And he has the physical traits from a frame standpoint. Like, I think when you look at certain things in this draft, or when you look at certain things in the draft, like, you got to figure out the balance between knowing how to project on a player, but also knowing, like, this player will definitely project, meaning like project, like he has a future from an athletic standpoint. We know he can play in the NFL, but then also being able to project, like, this person is actually capable of, like, filling that void, like becoming that player that you see him to be. In those mid rounders, like a Ben, and I'm using your names as an example, like a Ben and a Luke, like, it's not that easy, bro. Yeah. It's not that easy.
No, I'm right there with you. I think that's the challenging part. Sometimes you got some players that have amazing traits but don't have the productivity to back up those traits that they have. Shamar Stewart's one of those guys. I mean,
would you take the gamble?
I wouldn't take the gamble. I feel like there's too many other guys that I could consider, and especially if the board plays out. Like, let's say, even, for example, James Pierce. Some people have some questions about off the field, but trait-wise, we talking about a guy that was projected a top 5 pick going into this year. You know, whatever happened at Tennessee with limited snaps, or maybe it's even his own doing. Maybe it's, let me keep myself fresh for the NFL. I really don't know. I don't know his camp. I don't know him, anything of that nature. But, I mean, that's a talented player right there. You feel me? May not have had an amazing season statistically, but the fact that his name is even being mentioned in conversations of being a later first-round pick is like, I would take a gamble on that guy, even with the off-the-field stuff, rather than a guy that only had 1 sack and doesn't provide me the same type of athleticism or burst or talent as a James Pierce. So I don't know. It's just one of those difficult things where you just have to figure out how do you plan on utilizing the guy. And I think that's where, you know, some of my questions that I have for Todd McShay we'll get to, because I definitely have a ideology behind the draft prospects in general every year, and I'll touch on that later on. But yeah, I think it's a crapshoot. You don't know. Someone can have all the productivity in the world and don't produce when they get to the league.
Yeah. But here's my
It's
thing I want to
challenging.
ask you about. What's your all right, so what's your bottom line with James Pierce? I want to make sure I heard you right. What's your bottom line with James Pierce?
When you say that, what do you mean exactly?
Like what do you think, what is your reason for getting James, or what is your reason for a team drafting James Pierce if you were the GM, despite the noise surrounding him? What's your bottom line? Like, what's your one sentence or your two sentences that says, like, this is why we need to take James Pierce?
He could be a perennial All-Pro defensive end. The traits, everything about him, it like screams elite pass rusher. Like he's Abdul Carter without the stuff off the field. So it's like you can't teach his size, you can't teach his burst off the ball, you can't teach his hand usage. I mean, we're talking about a guy that I believe he's like 6'4", 250 something, ran a 4.47. Like you can't teach those things. And like I said, this is someone that was projected as a top 5 draft pick going into this year. So it's just one of those things where he has intangibles you can't teach. He's also had production in the past to back it up. It slipped a little bit this year, but as we've all heard, there's some things off the field in regards to him. But you can't teach. That first step is insane, bro. Like, and Abdul Carter ain't even a full-time pass rusher. He's just someone that they utilize in certain situations at Penn State. But James Pierce is like that. Like, I just think that if it wasn't for whatever is going on off the field, that we would be talking about him being a top 5, top 10 pick.
Okay.
So if he drops to 29, that's a steal.
All right, I get what you're saying. And the only reason why I asked for that, like that clarification, was because the way you said it, I'm like, Mike Green is a guy who's pass rushing, and he's getting home, and I didn't even know he had 17 sacks. Like, I knew he had a lot of sacks, but I'm looking at his numbers now. I was like, didn't he have a whole bunch of sacks? But he had 17. But like, that's why I was trying to get you down to the, like, your bottom line. And you mentioned his frame, you mentioned his measurables, and then you mentioned as well as the production or what he can do from like a actual technical standpoint too. So that's why I was like, all right, well, what am I actually hearing? So I get it. What's up, Drake?
Real quick. Hey, I'm good. But no, Mual, when AJ was explaining that, I was actually kind of surprised he's as high on Pierce as he is, because I know he's not high on Mike Green. But I think your issue with Mike Green is the competition more than the frame, more so for you.
Yeah, the issue with Mike Green is the bump that he was going against at Marshall. And a lot of people try to say, well, at the Senior Bowl, he did fairly good. I mean, Senior Bowl ain't no live damn game reps. You feel me? Like, I won't necessarily mention it as like a reason why I'm off of him, because at the end of the day, he was accused allegedly, but it wasn't,
don't bring it up
or anything of that nature. It's just more so the bump that he went against is not really my thing, and I'm not going to sit here and go to bat just because of Senior Bowl. Like, I just don't rock with that. Like, I just feel like I have to also see what you did against real bump, and for me, it would be Abdul Carter number 1, James Pierce, and Donovan Ezeraku number 3. And then I could see how a Jalen Walker could be up there, but at the same time, that's a hybrid linebacker. But I know Dre, welcome into the show. I know that you're a Mike Green.
Well, hold on. Fan. Yeah, since we talking about Mike, though, because like people in the
you're not a Mike Green fan?
No, I'm not.
I thought you were.
No.
He had some good reps against Ohio State. That's why I was like, well, what he had some games against some Power 5 conferences. I mean, I guess they are. Marshall is top. Marshall ain't a Power 5. I'm tripping.
Yeah,
He had some. Yeah, he had some bump. Sun Belt. I'm like, that's not Power 5. But he had some bump against some Power 5 competition. So I'm like, why are we bringing up? Why are we bringing up the games that he played against? Like, what did you think about the game against Ohio State?
AJ probably didn't see that joint. He just.
But that's what I'm getting at. Like, did you see it? Like, what's going on?
I also seen him put up a hell of a stats against Stony Brook. Like, I mean,
no, bro. You said like Power 5 bump. He had like,
yeah, I mean, Power 5 bump. Like,
but listen, though, when you get to not, I just want to get my point across. Not just about Mike Green, right? Because I'm talking about like people that comes from schools outside of the Power 5s. Like, for example, like Khalil Mack is probably like the biggest example. If you think about it, right, from a edge rushing standpoint. But when you talk about other people outside of Power 5 conferences, like sometimes they go against. They have that one game on their schedule where they're going up against a Power 5 school. So you have to take that into the evaluation. You have to take that into consideration. And no matter how many Stony Brooks they face, what did he do when he went against those schools with better talent across of him? Like dramatically better compared to the other teams that he played. And how did he do? And now I don't think that's always going to dictate your ability to play on the next level, because some people get drafted and they never play a Power 5. But at the same time, like, you just got, that's why I asked, like, point blank, because we talk about like the bump that he played. All right, so like, and that's why I was like, if that's the case, we had to see the Ohio State game and we had to have an opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, let's take a Khalil Mack, and we can ask Todd McShay about it. He's more so defined in that aspect. But a Khalil Mack coming out of Buffalo, you could see how like he was just in that situation probably because of grades. But at the end of the day, the power to speed that he was able to convert in his pass rush was elite. It was elite. I don't know if we can look at Mike Green and say he does anything at an elite level. So that's where, like, when you're comparing a smaller school guy to like a Power 5 guy or whatever, like those are some of those things, the things that I look at. Because I mean, even look at this year's draft. Quinyon Mitchell came out of Toledo. He did his thing at cornerback. We've also seen it in the past with other guys. Josh Allen, you know, he played at Wyoming. It's just different things. But I just think for me, Mike Green doesn't possess anything from an elite level to where I would give him a nod over a James Pierce Jr. or even a Donovan Ezeraku when I look at the total package of things.
But AJ, that's better. I think that's a better argument for you against Mike Green than the competition, because when I think about players, I'm looking more so as what translates versus who they're actually playing against. Because Mike Green, I think he played at UVA before he went on to Marshall. So he's played against this competition before. But the question is, do you see if he has the traits that can translate to this level or not, regardless of who the competition he's playing against? Because any NFL evaluators know how to evaluate talent. They know what translates, what they're looking for in certain guys. For me, and I know you thought I was a Mike Green fan, but the question I have with Mike Green is, can he be ready to play every down right now if needed? And that's the question I have for him. I'm just not sure he's an every down player. And he can possibly develop into that at some point. But I kind of want a more polished guy at this point. Well, if I'm drafting him in the first round or any edge rusher in the first round, I'm looking for a more polished guy. Of course, you still want the guy with some upside. You know, you want the guy to be able to be, you know, something bigger than what you're drafting him at. But is he more polished? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a guy that can play 3 downs right now, and if he can, you know, more so than the Mike Greens, who I'm not sure can be an every down player at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's the beauty of being able to do the show and having guests like who we're about to have on probably in the next 5 minutes to ask those type of questions. Because if you're going to be taking a defensive end in the first round, you want that guy to be a 3-down player. You don't want him to be a situational pass rusher. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Or a person that can only set the edge.
Yeah. Michael Williams from Georgia. So it's just one of those things where you want someone that can be a 3-down difference maker in the run and passing game. So, I mean, yeah, I just think that's something that we can throw into the conversation with McShay when he joins us in a few.
Well, let's get our opinion. I mean, and granted, we'll talk about plenty of offense when Todd comes on, chat. Everybody that's watching live. But like my thing is, and this was what we talked about with Dre last week. I was like, I don't know if like I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think it's a wrong decision to get a guy in the draft at a position of need where you think they can, since we're talking about edge or defense, that can be like a 3-down player eventually. Like if you see that in them, I don't think there's something wrong with that. I think sometimes you're not always going to be given the opportunity to find like a 3-down player off rip. Like especially if they're super young and coming out in the league. Like sometimes it may take time. Like you don't always find the people like Khalil, TJ Watt, JJ Watt. Like you don't always find, and I don't even know if JJ Watt was I don't know. I really don't. I don't remember if he was a 3-down player coming out. But like that's kind of where I'm getting at. Like some of those superstars off rip, like I don't know if you'll always find that. Those are kind of rare in terms of like their trajectory as a pro. So that's why I'm like, I don't really see a problem with you getting a guy that you think can eventually be a 3-down versus them like coming out and they're only like a 2-down player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm seeing a comment, Jay Tyler talking about we don't need a 3-down edge. Hell, you do. So then, why don't you need that?
I wonder if he's talking.
If you didn't need that, then you should have just kept Dante Fowler.
I wonder if he's talking about from the standpoint of like the rotation that they'll have, and maybe he can. He said,
I think the rotation is there because they don't have a premier guy. If they got a premier guy, he ain't coming off the field necessarily.
And that's kind of my point, AJ. That's where I'm at with it, because it's like right now you just got a bunch of guys. I mean, I think Doris Armstrong is the best of the bunch of what you have right now, but you bring it back Clelin Ferrell, who didn't have a good season last year. Jacob Martin, who I think is the quintessential situational pass rusher. Like Jacob Martin's not going to be an every down guy. You may not even want to play him on first and second down. He's going to be a third down guy. So that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. And is you do kind of need that bookend guy, especially if you're talking about drafting this guy in the first round. So that's more so what I'm looking for right now than kind of the situational guy that you hope converts into the 3-down guy. I want the guy I know that can possibly play 3 downs for multiple years, not even just this year, because we're looking beyond this year. And right now we have no one close to that outside of Dorrance Armstrong, who is solid, but Dorrance Armstrong isn't close to premier either.
Yeah. And honestly, Jay Tizzy, that's kind of part of the question or part of the thing that I was like getting at with the edge and more so our position and where we pick. It's like good luck finding a 3-down player off rip at 29. Now I'm sure that they'll have an idea of who can grow into that mold, but I think like Abdul is going to be a guy top 10 he's going to be playing 3 downs. Like no ifs, ands, buts about that. He's going to play 3 downs. I wonder where, like, do y'all think James like, because the way you talked about it, AJ, like, is James really going, like, you think he'll slide that late, or like it's more so just a discussion of like you just don't care about the outside noise?
I mean, I just don't know what's going on off the field with him. Like, I don't really have any insight into what those things are. I don't know if people think he's immature. I don't know if they think like he's a slacker or what exactly. Maybe Todd can let us know some of his sources of what he's heard from the Tennessee coaching staff or different sources in regards to James Pierce. But I mean, when you look at just the traits and the player himself, we shouldn't even be able to have a conversation about him at 29.
I got you. All right, I'm hearing you. And Chad, if y'all got some questions for Todd, I don't know how many we can actually get in because we got some from Twitter too. But if I got some questions, let us know. Put them in the chat. Monty, I see you. What's up, player? Appreciate you checking in. Somebody must ain't got no class today. But let us know how you feel. But joining us right now is Todd McShay, NFL Draft Analyst. He also has his own production company now, McShay Productions, and he has the McShay Show on The Ringer. The McShay Show will also be live streaming their coverage of the NFL draft next week on Spotify and YouTube. You can find Todd McShay at TMcShay13 on Twitter and on Instagram. Let's go ahead and bring him from backstage. And there we go. What's going on, Todd? Appreciate you joining us, boss man.
What's happening, fellas? I appreciate that intro. It's good to be with you. This is exciting, right? Like 7 days out, 6 days, whatever. I don't even know what day it is anymore.
Hey, 7 days, you had it right. We a week away, man. We away. All your hard work, everything that you had going on from, I would imagine, last summer up until today is like this is your time to shine. So we appreciate you giving us some of your time.
This is fun. I appreciate you guys taking some time to chat it up with me. What's going on?
Likewise, man.
Yeah, so I guess let's kind of we spent 30 minutes honestly talking about the defense. So let's go ahead and refresh our audience and let's start with the offensive side of the football. I think from a macro level, receiver would be one position, but like from the offensive side of the football, like what do you think is the strongest position group coming out of this draft? In your opinion, based on everything that you've been able to take a look at?
I mean, these running backs, right? I was looking like 2017 was an awesome class of running backs. There were 30 guys drafted. And that was the year with like Leonard Fournette went 4 to the Jaguars. The Panthers took Christian McCaffrey at 8. I think Kamara was in that draft. Like this class, hopefully we look back on it and say, yeah, this class is better. From where we stand today compared to where we were a week before the 2017 draft class, I think this class is better in terms of the prospects in it. Ashton Ginty's just a different human being, right? Like, I want to get your opinion. I was trying to come up to try to explain to people, if I had to pinpoint one running style and the way he looks when I just evaluate him as a back ball handed off to him, I think LaDainian Tomlinson is a pretty good comparison. The problem is, like, I see a lot of Alvin Kamara as a receiver too. And then like the commitment to like the work, the nutrition, the body, the NIL money he's dumping into making sure that he's ready to go and be that workhorse at the next level. It's kind of like the old stories of Herschel Walker that I wasn't around for, but like, I don't know. Outside of pass protection, I don't know where this thing goes wrong or the fact that if a team drafts him and doesn't have an offensive line. But even beyond that, Omarion Hampton, the 2 Ohio State running backs, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson from Iowa, Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State. Those are 6 guys right there that you're like, yeah, they can be our guy. And then it goes, I think there's going to be like 20 plus guys drafted in the first maybe 4 rounds. It's that good.
Well, Todd, you may have just discussed or described the best running back prospect of all time when you throw in Kamara.
I know.
Danian Tomlinson is compounds. Like, I mean, I'm loving it because we do need a running back here in Washington, which begs the question as you talk about how deep this class is. When you're looking at the first round, Washington's pick at 29, it's a possibility they could trade back, but is there a running back that you're like, man, if that guy's on the board, they have to get this guy at 29 if he's sitting there? Or because you're mentioning this class is so deep, do you think it's maybe smarter to kind of wait a little bit for one?
I would wait a little bit. Like I look at Washington, right? I think they could use another edge. I think running back is up there. But they're picking at 1 and 61, right?
Yeah, 29 and 61.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I get round 1. Okay. Yeah. 29.
Yeah, I got you.
So to me, like there's going to be an edge that falls. I think when I came on, you guys were talking about James Pierce, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's some stuff. I'm not going to lie. There's some stuff you don't love, like the practice, commitment, all those sorts of things. But with the right veteran leadership, the right organization, we saw the production on the field for Tennessee. I think personally, I love Jalen Walker. I love Mike Green. I love the traits for Shamar Stewart. I think a lot of these, and Abdul's in his own category. But the second best pure pass rusher in this class is James Pierce. And if he's sitting there and if you're comfortable with him and you have a plan in place to make sure you're getting the most out of him, that would be awfully intriguing to me. And I think a lot of teams are having this debate, right? Like we've got this one guy who's so much more talented, 4.47 40-yard dash. You can see the speed coming off the edge, the pop in his hands. And then you got this Donovan Ezaraku from Boston College, who's shorter, not as, kind of similar weight class, if you will, but long arms, 34-inch arms, and he's an absolute technician. Liatu Latu last year was kind of the same, not elite traits, but my goodness, they know how to rush the passer. Those guys take a little while in the league. And so that'll be interesting to see, like the debate between where are we on the character and some of the concerns, the red flags with James Pierce versus this other guy, Ezaraku, is like leader, captain, motor, insanely committed, and all those things, but he's not as talented as Pierce. So I think one, if not both of those guys could be sitting there at 29. And that would be a really good problem to have to sort through that. And then I would get my running back in like the second, third round range. I really would. I just think there's two, like DJ Giddens from Kansas State, like RJ Harvey from UCF. Like there's a lot of good backs. Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. There's a lot of good backs to be had where you don't have to use a premium pick on them. And it's not like this urgent matter that the Commanders have. So that part's going to be fascinating to me.
So Todd, in your most recent mock draft, I want to say it was a mock draft. Was it 3.0 or 4.0?
Yeah, 3.0.
3.0. You have Washington drafting Malachi Starks, the center field safety from Georgia. My good friend actually is his agent.
Oh, really?
Throw that out there.
Who's that?
But yes, do you think that Washington should prioritize a defensive back of that type of nature to their team over such, a pass rusher or offensive lineman or running back? Because I want to say those were your three, you and your co-host Steve
Mensch. Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
I think I'm going to start calling him Munich. A little.
He ain't gonna know where that came from.
But yes, I believe those were the three position groups that you felt like were needed to be prioritized for Washington. How did you come up with that idea of Malachi Starks at 29 for this Washington Commanders team overall?
I remember sitting there doing it and pouring. Like it took me all day because you have all these calls and then you're trying to fit and go through it and actually put yourself in the seat of these general managers. And I get down to 29 and I look up and I'm like, I don't think Starks is going to get here, but I can't find a place where I think that he would go over the player that team took. And I'm like, so maybe this is a scenario that could, like, here's the thing. Think about like the Baltimore Ravens, right? One of the organizations, like they're in the playoffs almost every year. They're always picking in the mid to late 20s or 30, so 30, 31, 32. And they are one of the most patient organizations out there. And their patience gets paid off just about every year in the draft. And maybe it's sticking there at 22 or 24, or it's trading back just a few spots to a team that's getting anxious, right? And they always wind up with a player you're like, I never thought he was going to be there. And I think now the Commanders, like, now you're at the big boy table, right? And now you get your first draft after a season like you just had, and you got your quarterback. I've also done a study too, that you guys might find this interesting. If you go back and study all these really good organizations that are always in the playoffs, Chiefs, the Bills now, the Eagles especially, the Packers, the Ravens, every one of them, if you go study their draft history, go year by year, once they identified that, yeah, that's our guy at quarterback, whether it was Lamar in Baltimore, Green Bay always had it, with Josh Allen in Buffalo, Mahomes in Kansas City, it's like they took this sharp left turn. And every draft after that, and I'm talking 3-4 years, like they're still doing it, defense. Like
Hamilton pick a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's like 3 of the top 4 picks were defensive players, 5 of the top 6. Like the Chiefs 2 years after drafting Mahomes, all 6 draft picks, defensive players. You know why? In talking to these GMs, 2 reasons. One, because my guy he's going to make up for the sins of 10 guys on that side of the ball. He can't help those guys on that side of the ball. So we better get great with personnel on that side of the ball. And excuse me, B is that we're going to score points with our guy. Like, Jay, we're going to score points now. So we got to find closers. And I remember talking to Bill Polian, the old GM for the Colts, when he came and worked at ESPN. One of his big things was like we had to get pass rushers on that turf. They had to run sub 1.6 second 10-yard splits. I can remember like how passionate he was. We had to have closers, guys who could close the game. Talking to Howie Roseman at the combine, he said the same. Where he goes, we had to find closers. And so I think the Redskins. I always said this.
Hey, you good on here? Do you
Commanders? I see those colors, and it's where my head goes from childhood. The Commanders are in a position now. They got their guy, and they can be patient, and they can sit back. And if it's an edge rusher, awesome. But if it's not, then we just take a player that everyone in the league thinks is one of the 20, 24, 25 best players in the league in Starks, and let's take him. And let's get a difference maker. Let's get a guy who could take the ball away, great ball skills, unbelievably smart. Leadership is off the charts. We lost Jeremy Chin. So I don't know. It wasn't where I wanted to go with the pick, to answer your question in a very roundabout way, but it wouldn't shock me if they hung there and got a really good football player that no one thought would be there at 29.
So real quick, just to touch on what you mentioned, which is amazing insight and something that I thought about it a little bit, but it was more so focused on Kansas City, how they did with a Trent McDuffie, George Kalafis. Yep. What is his name? It starts with an F. He came out of Kansas State, the pass rusher.
Oh, you're going to make me pronounce that name.
Uzama or something?
Yeah.
It's something along those lines. But do you think that the Commanders, after the success that they had in year one under Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels leading them, are they now at the BPA table of a draft?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I do. Like, yes, we'd like to get an edge. We'd like to get a running back. We'd like to get a cornerback. We can get a running back later. I'd like to add another receiver. But these are like, I look at other teams, right, man? Like, I'm looking at Dallas. Like, oh, we need a number 2 receiver. I'm looking at Miami. Like, we need a left tackle. We just lost Teron Armstead. Oh, and now we need a replacement for Jalen Ramsey. Like, some teams have needs. Like, it's a need, and edge is the top need, but it's not as pressing as some of these other. When I look around the league and I'm going through this exercise, there's some where it's like, all right, if we don't get one here, if I don't get one in the first 2 rounds, and if it's an offensive tackle need, I'm not getting one in the second round. So if I don't get one in the first round, who off the street, or you know what I mean? So yeah, I think you're a lot closer to that than what the situation was. And quite honestly, that's what the good organizations do. They get in this position and they take best player available as much as they can. Hopefully it fits somewhat of a need, but then you start stacking really good players, and you look up in 2 years and you're like, man, my roster is loaded with damn good football players because I didn't force it in with a need.
For your prospects that you would label day 1 or maybe even day 2 wide receivers, say they chose that route in one of those 2 nights, who do you think, or who stands out to you at the wide receiver position day 1 and day 2, who are like your top 3? I would say. You don't have to like do top 3, however many you want that pops up to mind. But also, who do you think fits the mold of what Washington would need alongside of Terry and Debo?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you can kind of, you've got the versatility with Debo. Terry's just Terry, man. Like, whether you put speed or size opposite him, just go get the best wide receiver. I think, honestly, I think there are 3 receivers that will go in the first round, and that's Matthew Golden, the Texas wide. I like Matthew Golden coming out of Texas. He only had 38 catches back-to-back seasons at Houston. He came to Texas and wasn't even the number 1. That was Isaiah Bond, and then Bond was sputtering and dealing with the injury and started to lose confidence, and Golden stepped up, like big moments, big games, he was the guy. And I love to see that development in his game. And then he goes and runs a 4.29, and people were questioning, I don't know if he's like that great a speed. It's like, what are you watching on tape? This guy's got defensive backs on his heels all day long, and then the ability to without gearing down, just break off a route, and then the ability to adjust. I think he's going to be a really good player. I really do. He could go as high as 12 to the Cowboys, but Tet McMillan's another one out of Arizona. I'm not quite as high. I worry about like the practice player. I see the routes he's not finishing. There's some, like, everyone wants to do the Drake London comp. Mm-hmm. Drake London was a basketball player. So everyone's like, yeah, finesse basketball. Drake London was a dog. Like, Drake London was out there competing his ass off. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it took Drake a year to develop as a route runner. And that's what's going to happen with Tet. These long levered guys with different backgrounds, and Tet McMillan's a volleyball player, right? They take a little while to become like better route runners and know how to get guys on their hips and utilize their size and their frame and all that. But is he going to work at it the way that Drake has worked at it? That's my question. But he's going to go in the first round. And then Emeka Egbuka, you know what? I'm glad I'm talking to you guys. I remember being at that pro day at Ohio State, right? And I'm there, and was it Haskins that year?
Yeah,
Terry came out. Haskins and Terry.
Yeah, Haskins and Terry.
And there were a couple other receivers that were running like the 4.3s that year. But I was there almost. The biggest reason was Haskins, and then also Nick Bosa. They had a bunch of dudes on the defensive side. But I'm watching and timing and doing all that and doing Sports Centers and all those different shows. And everyone wants to talk about Haskins and a couple other skill guys, and then Bosa, right? And I promise you, everyone that came up to me or that I passed by and talked to wanted to talk about McLaurin. Wow. You don't understand, man. I'm telling you, I know, and he ran well that day. I know he doesn't have the measurables. I know he didn't have the production, but this is the guy. He's different. And then talking to Ryan Day, and Urban had been there, and I just remember he might be something that we haven't seen on tape already. And Emeka, you're getting the same reports out of Columbus. It's like he's just a guy that he works so hard. He elevates the wide receiver room. You don't get a lot of like leaders of the team and leaders of the offense at the wide receiver room. He's that guy. And so I watch him on tape, and I don't see a special trait. I don't see 6'4", 219 like McMillan. I don't see 4.29 speed like Golden. But I see a guy who is just reliable. He's open. He gets upfield quickly. He does all the little things. So those are the three that'll go in the first round. Luther Burden is like a Debo type in the second round. He'll be gone by the time you guys pick in the second round. Jaden, the two Iowa State guys are really good. I don't know that Higgins will be, but Jalen Knoll, the slot receiver, is one of my favorite players in this entire draft. He is Lad McConkey was kind of the same. Everyone's like, well, maybe he's just a slot, this and that. But the route running, the separation, the hands, I just think Jalen Knoll is a guy who could be around late in the second that could wind up, if he becomes a commander with Debo and Terry, like that would be awesome to watch.
Hey, Todd, I want to ask this is actually perfect because you talked about Egbuka kind of in the light that Terry McLaurin was kind of talked about as a sleeper in that draft. And this is a segue to what I want to ask you as far as who would you kind of see as in this draft, doesn't matter position, regardless, like someone who just not being talked about that much that could.
He got a whole article about that too.
Yeah, and that's why I want to get to this because I actually found a guy this week, and you may not think this guy, is the type of sleeper that I think he is, but he's on the Commanders' top 30 visits. The running back from Arizona, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. And I'm like, why is this guy not being talked about a little bit more? He looks really good. He didn't play the full season in Arizona, but I'm not asking about him. I'm asking your opinion on who is a guy out there, like I said, regardless of position that you have, as should be probably drafted higher than he's probably being mocked or being talked about. And some team's going to walk away with a sleeper in this draft with this guy.
Omar Norman Lott, the Tennessee defensive tackle, is one of those guys. He doesn't have the ideal length. You see him at the Senior Bowl, and you get these 6'4", 6'5" guys, 300, 310, and he's not that. But his tape is fun to watch, and he is, I think, someone who's going to excel in the NFL. Those defensive linemen at Tennessee didn't play a lot of snaps. I'm watching 700 680, 710. Those are the numbers that are coming up for snaps last year when you're talking about like Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan. And then the edge guys, we're talking about like 750 snaps for Abdul Carter and all these other guys. Well, Norman Lott and James Pierce were like in the 400s. Like, what's the deal? Like, they weren't injured, and because they had like 12 guys. It was like watching a hockey line shift. They were just rotating guys all the time, so they were fresh. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. But I think Omar Norman Lott is probably a later third round pick. All these great interior defensive linemen. I think he's going to be a player that winds up outplaying where he gets drafted. I'll give you another guy on defense, Demetrius Knight. Have you watched him at all from South Carolina? I'm watching, getting ready to go to the Senior. I'm actually on the plane going to the Senior Bowl, and I'm watching 5, Kyle Kennard, the edge rusher, right? And I'm watching Nick Eamon-Wari, the safety.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even gotten to the linebackers yet. And so I didn't even – and I kept writing down. I kept on my notes writing down 17. Finally, I have the sheet somewhere here in this mess of an office I've got right now. Like, who is 17? ? Because we didn't have it. I was on that flight from Atlanta to Mobile, and there was no internet connection. I couldn't look it up. And I'm like, who's 17? What? Like, he is like the way he locates the ball and flies the football, and it just explodes. You know, guys like some guys thump, some guys are big, strong, some guys like, you know, undercut you, torpedo you. Some guys, when they hit you, you remember. Like, you can kind of hear it through the tape, even though the tape has no audio. It's like, you know, I think Demetrius Knight, again, like late third round. I think and then Chris Paul's the other linebacker from Ole Miss, undersized guy, but man, he flies around, and don't tell him he's undersized. He's like 6 foot, 222, short arms. You talk to people at Ole Miss, like, don't you dare mention, like, when you're talking to him about the scouting process, that he's undersized. He will knock you out. Like, and you can see it on tape. So those are a couple guys at linebacker that I just really love. And in this day and age where everyone's like looking for the long guy and the cover guy and all, like, those are two players that play the game like throwbacks, but still can cover and do the things you need on third downs.
Give me a London Fletcher all day. We had an undersized
Yeah.
About all day. I'll take the London Fletcher any day of the week.
Yes. it sounds just like him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I have a 2-part question. So one of my questions is, how do you feel about this overall draft? And the main reason why I'm asking that is because, as you know, Adam Peters, going into his second year as GM, has decided to part with a lot of those picks to get acquisitions in a Marshawn Lattimore before the trade deadline, Deebo Samuel a couple weeks after the Super Bowl, Lermy Tunsil now, the left tackle. What is your overall view of the draft class of 2025? And then the other question is, do you believe that these collegiate prospects can come into the NFL and develop, or is it more so when they come to the NFL, it's up to the coaching staff to just focus on what they already do good coming out of college?
Let me start with this. Jaden Daniels was the reason why things turned around as quickly as they did, right? I think we can all agree on that. Like, he's special.
No, yeah,
right.
Definitely.
But I hope people that are fans and in your area understand, like, just how hard it is to change an entire culture. Like, that stuff was toxic. And I had friends that worked there briefly and couldn't get out of there fast enough. And Daniel Snyder and everything that was involved, like, just, and I'm sure you guys know even better than I do. So to have ownership come in and to have a coach who you buy into, and then to have the quarterback, and it all miraculous, it was a perfect storm, right? But I think when you're seeing, like, well, we're getting rid of guys from previous draft picks, like, it is a cleansing, I believe. It's an absolute cleansing of, we are looking for certain players with certain makeups to run our certain schemes and all those things. And whether it's it's no offense to anyone, but, like, we want our stamp on our guys to build our culture and to continue what was one of the fastest turnarounds in organizational history in any sport. Think about it. Like, think about what you guys have been through and what Daniel Snyder did to that organization. So that is the backdrop. I think that helps explain. And so for this year's class, and I can kind of answer both parts with this year's class. what's fascinating and all the problems it's creating for college football, and it's in the headlines now with Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback from Tennessee, transferring now it looks like UCLA. For all the issues that are coming and all the concerns I have, because I talk to GMs and scouts around the league, and I'm sitting here like at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday, even last week, getting reports and reading these things I don't want to hear, and I feel terrible. And the NIL is creating problems because the money is not going and staying in the hands of the players that are earning the money, and it's parents, it's all these stories, it's agents, it's uncles, it's so there's a lot of stuff that can be done to help these players now that they are getting the money they deserve. Now, the positive side from the NFL standpoint, I have never in my 25 years of doing this, as I sit down and type on this computer in front of me, I've never written down more guys where it's like 6-year starter or 6-year player, 5-year starter, 5-year player, 3.5-year starter.
Yeah.
And Jaden's a good example. 2 schools, 56 or whatever the number starts was. Bo Nix set a NCAA record, 63 or 64 starts, whatever it was at Auburn and Oregon. And so the positive byproduct is guys are coming in the league more ready than they ever have. You had COVID, NIL, transfer portals, and you're getting paid more. Unless you're a first-round pick, a lot of these guys are getting paid more in college. So you stick around, you play more ball, you're more mentally mature, physically mature, you've started more games. And so this class is not great at the top. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It doesn't have the quarterbacks we had a year ago. It's fascinating storylines with Shador and Jackson Dart and all these teams flying around and all these workouts the last minute. But it's slim at the top. Like Travis Hunter's an unbelievable prospect. He might be the Shohei Ohtani of football. I think Abdul Carter's sensational. Like on track to be the next Micah Parsons, everyone's saying. I don't know that he's ever going to be that, who is, but he's going to be a great player. And then you got Mason Graham at defensive tackle. You've got Ashton Ginty, we talked about at running back. You've got Tyler Warren at tight end. But after that, it kind of starts to drop off. But what you do have in this year's class, when you're picking late in the second, late in the third, into the fourth, there are guys that are more experienced, more ready to contribute, that can come in, and whether it's even as a backup role, special teams, more players, I think, in those later rounds are going to come in and contribute. So it's kind of a good year to purge a little bit and to lean on this draft class, because you're going to get more contribution from this class than you would in recent history, I think.
Hey, Todd, I appreciate you joining us, man. And I'm going to do my friend a favor, because this is my last question. And thank you for giving the time once again.
Yeah, of course.
But my guy is a Tennessee Titans fan, and you brought up quarterbacks for a brief second.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been, speaking of purgatory, they've been in purgatory for a little while. Ryan Tannehill, they floated for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They did their thing, had a couple playoff appearances, but now they got their pick of the litter in a quarterback class that's not super out there even compared to last year's. But where do you have Cam Ward? What's your opinion on Cam? But do you think that he is a guy who stacks among, let's say, maybe the top 3, top 5? That may be stretching it, but I'm gonna give you the floor. Top 5 over the last, let's say, 3 quarterback classes. Where is he for you?
I think the jumping off point with Cam Ward, let's look at last year's class. 6 guys drafted, a record-setting group in the top 12 picks. I think the conversation would start at 4. And obviously Atlanta had a different opinion than Minnesota had, than Denver had in terms of who the 4th best quarterback was in that class. I think he's got the traits to be a damn good quarterback. I know this. He is a leader. He is demanding of his teammates, and some teammates don't even like him because he's so demanding, and I like that. Because one of the biggest pricks of all time was Peyton Manning. You know who was a pain in the ass to be around? Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. The nice guy doesn't get very far at quarterback. So I like that about him. And I think, to me, one of his special traits is when he's in the pocket, and you see it with Mahomes, and I hate bringing up names because everyone, McShay said that he's Mahomes. He's not Mahomes. But you think about Mahomes, he's not overly fast, and he's not that great an athlete, but he's unbelievable extending plays and create. And I think a part of his secret sauce, if you will, is he this patience and calm about him in the pocket. He feels it. He knows the pressure's coming, but he's going to let you get a step or two closer to him before he burns your hand on the stove, right? And he doesn't have to go running around. He can wait till you're like here, and then he just makes one quick move. I see the same stuff with Cam, right? And then the arm angles, the ability to throw and create when he's on the move. But all that stuff is great for the highlights, and there will be plays that he has. But if you really study him, and I think this is why Brian Callahan in that organization fell in love. If you go and study him, we can break down these clips now with like the PFF Ultimate combined with the catapult tape. You can go in and you can find like certain throws, 10 to 20 yards. If you go in and study when he's in rhythm with the receiver, top of his drop, foot planted, knows where he's going, and the receiver's where he should be. He is an absolute assassin, man. And that's what they're betting on. We're going to get him more on script, in rhythm of this offense, like Burrow was for me if I'm Brian Callahan talking in Cincinnati. And if we do, we get a chance to have something special here. And he's the best quarterback talent that our organization's had since McNair, right?
Yeah.
So I like, if I'm a Titans fan, I'm thrilled.
He ordered the draft pack, about to get the jersey soon. That boy geeking.
No, and I want to ask Todd because he's speaking on, and I'm a fan of Cam Ward myself. I like him, but what would you rank him amongst the 2024 class of quarterbacks?
I thought he said 4.
I would put him. See, I like JJ McCarthy a lot, but honestly, I think the tools are a little bit better. I think JJ is a little bit more like ready to go, but we didn't get to see that.
Yeah.
But I think Cam's going to be just fine too. Gun to head, it's hard too because like
gun to your head. You have 5 seconds.
Pulling away.
Something difficult. This is a curveball, Todd. I'm sorry.
No, it's not a curveball. I've thought a lot about it. I could give you, I could just give you a stock answer, but I want to walk it through with you. It's when he got drafted by Minnesota, JJ. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I love that pick, because KOC, he's kind of the quarterback whisperer in the NFL now, right? So all of a sudden, everyone's like, their grade went up a little bit on JJ. So honestly, from a trait standpoint, I think Cam's more gifted. I think, and Cam had to carry an offense more than JJ did. I think in terms of the structure of an offense and all those sorts of things, like JJ was probably a little bit more advanced. JJ had done a lot of winning, but like Ward's got the better arm. They're both pretty mobile, but not elite, So I think they're right there. If they both wound up in the same place with the same circumstances, I would take Cam Ward. There you go.
So number 4 out of the 2024 prospects.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
You got it out of me. I've never had to answer that question before.
Hey,
it only took me 4 minutes of weed.
Hey, look, nobody said nobody said gun to head, but that's
I'm
glad you said it.
Hey, but look, I appreciate you joining us, Todd, and giving us some of your time, man. I know it's a busy time for you, so we definitely appreciate every minute that you gave us. I want to give you the floor now to plug anything that we haven't gotten to. I'm sure McShay Productions is something that's probably like probably if I had to guess, it's something that you're pretty proud of. I mean, given the I think a year or two since you've been able to start doing your own thing. So like how is that kind of, I'll give you the floor. Man. But anything and everything that you got going on, I just wanted to give you like McShay Productions. That's your own freedom. That's you doing your own thing. So I just want to say salute to you.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting, man. Like I did the ESPN thing for a long time. I don't have a negative thing to say. Didn't expect it to end the way it did, but I'm grateful for everything that they gave, and I'm grateful that, quite honestly, that the opportunity came for me to do this thing.
Exactly.
And you just never know. It's never your plan, right? But sometimes the plan is the right plan for a reason. You got to believe in it. So we started this. It's kind of humble beginning and building it from ground up, and we've been very fortunate to get Spotify and the Ringer to help us and kind of collaborate and produce all of our shows for us, the McShay Show. We're excited, man. I don't know if you guys have plans for that first night of the draft, but come join us if you will. Put us on the third screen if you want. Me and my guy Munich, we're calling him Munich now. Steve Mensch, we're going to be.
We can say Mucinex. Steve
Mucinex.
That's better than you.
Perfect time.
My allergies are killing me.
Yeah. So Mensch and I will be doing the live stream of the first round of the draft, hour before throughout the first round. Then the second round of the draft, we'll do a recap show. We're going to be out in LA all week. And they've got some studios out there.
You're not gonna go to Green Bay?
I'm not freezing my ass off in Green Bay.
Bay?
I sat in the frozen.
It's April, Todd.
I sat in the frozen. You guys didn't sit in Cleveland with the frozen
rain. It's not January.
Hey, look, he sold me already. Cleveland, Green Bay,
Chicago. The rain was coming in sideways. I did Philly. I did all these. They promised 65 and sunny these spring. One day in Chicago, it was 65 and sunny. Day 2, it was beautiful. We thought we were out of the. Next morning, I wake up. They had to move our set inside the facility. It was so cold and rainy. So I'm not doing. I'm good. LA,
80 plus.
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
I'm an old dog now.
Well, Todd, I can tell you this: I'll definitely be live streaming you because if we're not picking high in this draft, like if we're picking high, we're going to a bar. But because we're picking so late, we're going to be in the house, and I'm probably
hang out with us, man.
12. So I'll be hanging out with you on draft night, Todd. I'm glad you said that.
I appreciate
that's where
that.
I'll be.
All right, I love it. Hang out with us all weekend. We're taking over Rosillo's place in Manhattan Beach. He's got this nice bachelor pad.
Give us some spoilers
on Saturday.
I need spoilers.
Spoilers.
I need spoilers. If you know who's picking before, who's getting
you want him to
we're picking so late. I need spoilers. Tell me who's picking
we'll
who.
be on some stuff. I've got my phone will work. I'll have it plugged in.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, and then the McShay Report. Google it. Subscribe. You can subscribe for free. We're doing like a $1 promotion. I'm not going to sit here and peddle the stuff, but we got like my mock draft, top 100, top 300s coming up. All sorts of different Q&As and draft buzz and all this stuff. And if you jump on now, you can have it through May, which will get you the way too early mock draft for 2026, which I'm dreading, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I know your family can't wait for next week to be over and go on vacation. So where did they draft to go for vacation after all of this craziness has been going on?
Well, Marissa and I are staying out there for 5 days after, so we're going to be hanging out on the coast up there on the West Coast, and then we've got a couple plans with the family a little bit later.
Enjoy
in
it,
May,
man.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Have a couple drinks on Trapper Dive,
You got it.
And shout out
we'll catch up.
Spider's helmet behind you.
I would tell him do the Henny and Coke, but I don't know if he on that wave either, like Jay.
I appreciate you guys. We'll have to do this again soon.
Yes,
Have
sir.
fun.
All right, boss man, take care.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Here is Todd McShay, ladies and gentlemen. Look, hey, excellent conversation. I want to apologize first off, everybody that's tapped in live, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate you all as always. I am sorry. I did realize towards the end of the conversation that we didn't get to any of the fan questions. But I do hope that some of them was answered in the midst
Some
of the
fan questions was dumb as hell. That's why we didn't get to it.
I ain't saying that.
Let's be fair to the fan. Todd gave us a lot. He wasn't short with his answers. Todd gave us detailed, descriptive ansers. So sorry, fans, we can't get to some of those because Todd gave us a lot of his time.
Yeah, we was only supposed to have 20 minutes, but we probably got 35, 40.
Almost 40.
We got 40. He just clocked out. So anyway, I know everybody. I know people enjoyed the conversation. It is what it is. But we're going to try and get some questions in when we can. We're going to have another guest on Tuesday. We'll talk a little bit shop with them. That was enlightening, and I think it was it was about the edge rusher. He had said something. I don't know exactly what it. No, I lost my train of thought, but I'm about to play the podcast back. Maybe it's been a long day. But shout out to Chris, who is actually very interested in Trey Hendrickson. I don't know what I was thinking was Trey Hendrickson. He thinks that they should trade out and select Trey Henderson, which apparently I think he is on the block, maybe. But
yeah, I mean, I think the Trey Henderson thing.
I wasn't about to give it no. I was just saying shout out to him. I wasn't about to.
Oh yeah. I think that's over with. But yeah, man, great conversation. Definitely a perspective on certain things that I thought about, but not necessarily with all those other teams like the Baltimores, the Buffaloes with their quarterback situation and how they drafted. But Kansas City Chiefs is definitely a team that I noticed once they got Patrick Mahomes. A lot of their first round picks was heavily focused on defense. Even one year, they took Rashee Rice and a defensive end in the first round. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Washington plays out this draft next week. I don't think trading back is something that they're gonna do.
I think they may use it for their second rounder. Like that's kind of what I was contemplating. I think they'll pick. I think they picking at 29. But I think that maybe they may, if they try to trade back, they may try to use that second rounder to make some moves. That's kind of what I think.
But I think even being able to ask Todd, like with Adam Peters trading these picks, he said there's a lot of guys, but it's not really a great class overall, and that's why I've kind of even said on here. That's why I believe that Adam Peters made these particular trades to acquire a Marshawn Lattimore, Deebo Samuel, Laramie Tunsil, because they aren't necessarily impressed, but they could still get some guys that can contribute. But at the end of the day, they're not like, we must go into this with 7-8 picks. Like, hey, we can get bona fide starters that can contribute now. And it's going to be interesting.
That's what I remembered. It wasn't about age, but more so just the contemplation about like the defensive side of the football. That's what I was thinking about. And you brought it up, AJ. And like when I asked you, I never gave my answer, but I asked you like a week away from the draft, like what side were you leaning that they would go? Like I couldn't help but think that they'll be going on the defensive side of the football. Like I don't know what position. But I couldn't help but think like they may go on the defense side of football. And it's crazy that Todd brought it up because I'm like Washington. Now I didn't make the correlation with the other teams as you mentioned, but I'm like Washington's best chance of playing better offense is like this is my head, like drafting a defensive player who's a dog. And I had no idea what position in mind that I'm thinking about, but I'm like the more I see these mock drafts, but the more I think about how your secondary still has room for improvement, whether it's cornerback or safety. And then obviously we know what we need at edge. I think that Washington is also leaning the way of finding some people who can really like flip a game and seal a game for their team. And that's what I think about the first round. Dre, I think you came in after that conversation. But like that's what we had a conversation about. Like, were you leaning a week away from the draft in terms of which side of the ball they may be going? But like, we can close out with your thoughts if you have something on that. But that's kind of where I was like, yeah, like Todd is kind of tying everything up for me in terms of like what I was thinking, but also how he kind of showed it with the other teams and how they kind of see with their starting quarterback, their franchise quarterback. Like this, it may be a defensive side of the ball.
And that's what I took from this conversation is that Todd gave me something to think about that I hadn't thought about. Because I haven't had to think about this. I haven't had to think about what the best teams in NFL do in the NFL draft. Like we don't even think of like honestly, Jamal, AJ, I'm not even up when the Ravens and the Chiefs draft every year in the draft. So I don't know who they draft. You know what I'm saying? It's midnight whenever the Ravens and Chiefs are drafted. And that's what I have to get used to with the Commanders draft this year. It's going to be damn near midnight when we draft this year. Like, what do the good teams do when they draft? I'm so focused on what bad teams do when they draft every year. And it's kind of refreshing to hear Todd McShay talk about the Commanders. And Todd was kind of adamant about it in the sense that we don't have that many needs, like any glaring needs, so to speak, and a lot of fans get caught up in that, man, we have this big need. It's a 53-man roster. It's a lot of positions. Like if you're still going into a season with a need, that's probably likely not going to be the need that's going to make or break your season when you're talking about you have one of those 5 to 6 guys in the NFL at quarterback that elevates everybody else in the team. So Todd's position on like what the best teams do, because they have these guys like the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills. When you think about the best quarterbacks in the league, and then you talk about Washington when you have a Jaden Daniels. Offense doesn't necessarily have to be the greatest priority when you're talking about going into these drafts, and we've already kind of addressed offense. Like the biggest moves the Washington Commanders have made this season so far has been on the offensive side of the football. Laramie Tunsil, Deebo Samuels. Those are the marquee players that you've already picked. Like you've already addressed something on the offensive side of the football. Now you're going into the draft. Let's start building this defense up. Let's start getting the best prospects on defense. Like not even focusing on a position. Let's get the best players available. Like even with the safeties that you're talking about, you have the Georgia safety, you have the South Carolina safety. A lot of us have been focused on the pass rushers, the edge rushers, because we have, a big need at edge rusher. Obviously, when you look at the Commanders team, you look at the glaring needs that we need. Everyone says edge rusher. Let's just build the defense up. Now, if edge rusher is the best player available, and there's going to be some best player available, probably most likely you're talking about the James Pierces, the Azarakus, those type of guys. But regardless of what it is, when you're picking whatever you're picking, whether it's 29, 61, let's build this defense up. Like Todd has kind of made that point to me. This is what the best teams do. For me, as a fan that watches this team every year, that watches the draft every year, I haven't kind of realized that the best teams do that the best teams just draft these defensive guys because they know that the quarterback can make up for everything you've already done or what you need. And we've already kind of addressed the offense when you look at free agency. So, yes, Todd kind of enlightened me with this point that you go out and you just add these best player availables on the defensive side of the football when you have that guy at quarterback. So I love that Todd brought that up because now – yes, I'm still looking at the edge rushers. I'm still, I will be ecstatic if we draft one of the guys I've been watching the edge rusher. But if we come out of this draft in the first round with a safety, cornerback, linebacker, if they're BPA, I'm happy. I don't care because you got better on defense, knowing what you are capable of on offense because of the guy you have leading your team on offense.
Yeah, I think it was one of the most important takeaways from our conversation with Todd McShay. Because when you break it down, you look at a Baltimore Ravens going and getting a Kyle Hamilton, a David Ajabo, a Roger Rosenstein, or whatever the case is, Andrew Voorhees from USC. They're able to even bet on guys that show production with injuries because of having Lamar Jackson. Even take Philadelphia Eagles. In the most recent drafts, their picks been Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Like, it's all been defensive players. They haven't drafted no running back. They haven't drafted no wide receiver outside of Devontae Smith, which was a top 10 pick. But most of their picks have been predicated on building up that rotation for their D-line, their back end. So, yeah, I always felt like Washington in this position was at BPA. I think just this conversation solidified it even more. I was wondering how he felt as being one of the top dogs in this space alongside of Mel Kiper and Daniel Jeremiah, how he felt. And he feels like they're at the BPA table. And Adam Peters has done a great job of addressing those things to not necessarily be needs going into the draft. They signed a bunch of guys on the D-line, may not be marquee names, but the Kinlaws, the Eddie Goldmans, the Cleveland Farrells coming back, Jacob Martin, the Wise. Then at the cornerback position, bringing Noah Igbenogany back, Jonathan Jones. You sign a safety in Will Harris. You trade for Deebo. You added pieces to your team to where you can go into this draft and really just play the board. So we'll see how it goes. I know I'll be up. Hopefully, matter of fact, five picks before, I'm gonna call Dre to make sure he up.
No,
see what it is.
Dre don't.
You gonna stay up? You gonna stay up?
That's actually what I was about to say. Before we get out of here, before we close this show out, let's let the fans know, what are we doing for the draft? Are we doing a show for the draft? Last year, because we picked second in the draft, me and Mual went to a bar. We had to watch with the Commander fans. What are we doing this year for the draft? Are we doing a live show? We doing a live show?
It'll be a long day for your boy. I don't know if I could. Let's
I
talk
know,
about
we
that
back
on
at work
Thursday.
now,
Yeah, we back at work
now. So
Thursday is the day, like Thursday is the day I got going to an office, bro. Now, granted, I am off on Friday, so like I can maybe take a nap.
Do a quick little 30.
Who said that? Who said we gotta do that? We gotta do that.
God.
What?
God did.
Let's get us a couple days of.
Let's get us a couple days of. We're gonna sleep on it. So I'm gonna be,
bro. We picking at 29. Don't be up this joint like a zombie, bro.
Hey, we might not be up at that time. We gotta do something that day. Just maybe.
Let's figure.
Maybe y'all boys don't stay the hell up.
We got some days. Yeah.
Y'all be all right.
First off, look at AJ and his little privilege. You don't gotta go to an office. He can do.
If y'all was betting on underdog, I bet y'all would have stayed up to make sure them tickets hit.
Look, man, we a couple weeks into our new arrangement. You know what I'm saying? Give us some time, bro. Hey, that's all that is, bro. But let's talk about it. We can talk about it over the weekend. Drake tried to put us on the spot. That ain't gonna work for me.
I just wanted to see what y'all wanted to do, because I mean, I can work something out with y'all.
Look, hey, they go Amani, bro. He been pushing. I
know,
like a week.
The West Coast Amani don't mind.
I'm not doing 4 hours of a show, bro. No way.
No, we ain't doing 4
hours.
I
mean, I don't. I depend.
If I did 4 hours of a show, y'all gonna see me use a bathroom and everything, dog. Like.
And we can black the camera out, bro.
Make sure
I'm gonna zoom in.
Need to be muted, bro. He trying to get his band on. Be like,
YouTube. Look at Ben Sinnott in the toilet.
Hey, bro. All right, we getting out of here, bro. We getting out of here. Hey, one thing for sure, two things for certain, man. If there's anything that you took away from this Todd McShay interview, bro, just remember he said that Drake London was a dog, and that's the most important thing you got.
I did say that.
All right, take it easy. Enjoy everybody that's tapping in. And yeah, till next time, man. See y'all Tuesday. Peace.